Hi everyone, welcome back to another video lesson. Today's lesson is on approximation and estimation. So if you have been having a hard time getting your head around an accurate method for mathematical estimation, then you've come to the right place. If you'd like to have a go at any of the questions I'm going to put on screen today, and I'll always advise that is the best way to learn something and help it to stick, then just grab yourself something to write with and on. I'm going to jump right into the lesson, so if you need a little bit longer to read the task board, then pause the video now and hit play when you're ready to jump in. First of all, let's make sure we understand each other when I talk about approximation. Approximation is more of a general term used to describe the process by which we express a value in a simpler way, but keeping it close to the exact value. For example, when we round a number, that would be an approximation. It's important that we keep the value close to the original, but simplify it so it can be used easily in calculations. For example, the sorts of calculations we might do in our heads. You'll notice on screen now I've got 5 values which we're going to just recap rounding to one significant figure, which I do have another video about that I'll link above. So if you're not 100% on this one yet, or if this little practice doesn't quite click with you, feel free to go back and watch that other video and hopefully you'll be able to come back to this one ready to give this a go. I've specifically chosen rounding to one significant figure because when we estimate and when we estimate the mathematical way, that doesn't just mean have a good guess or round the numbers to whatever you want to make it easier. When we estimate in maths, that's a very specific process by which we approximate all of the numbers in the calculation by rounding them to one significant figure. And it is specifically one significant figure and not anything else. So let's just recap rounding these numbers to one significant figure. A reminder that the first significant figure is the first digit in your number because it's the most significant. It's going to be the highest or hold the highest value. For example, that 4 represents 4,000, which is bigger, which is more significant than the digit representing 600 or the digit representing the 20 or the digit representing the 5. So that's our first significant figure. And then we're just going to peek next door because normal rounding rules apply here. If that number is 5 or greater, that 4 will round up to a 5. Or if that number is 4 or below, that number will stay the same as a 4. So the 6 causes the 4 to round up to 5,000. Some people like to think of rounding to one significant figure specifically as rounding it to the nearest whatever the highest place value is for that number. So because this number is in the thousands, people will say to themselves, well, what is it rounded to the nearest 1,000? If it was a number in the tens of thousands, they'd say, what is it rounded to the nearest 10,000? If it was a number in the hundreds, they'd say, what is it rounded to the nearest 100? That only works specifically for rounding to one significant figure. Our next one is 37,239. So our first significant figure is the 3, representing 30,000. We're going to peek next door. We've got a 7, which causes that 3 to round up to a 4. So to one significant figure, this is 40,000. Remember what I said, if I'm going to round this to the nearest 10,000, my choices are between 30,000 and 40,000. Which one is it nearer to? We've then got 16.94535. So the 1 representing 10 is my first significant figure. I peek next door, I've got a 6, that's another one that's going to round up. So the 1 becomes a 2. But remember it's in the tens column, so we really mean 20. If I wanted to, I could put the point 00000 to replace all those digits, but by now we probably understand that any zeros after the decimal point at the very end of a number, we don't need to write down. Just take care when you get to numbers beginning with 0 point, because those zeros at the front do not count as significant figures. The first significant figure is the first non-zero digit. In this case, the 5. We finally got one where it doesn't round up, so the 4 causes the 5 to stay the same, so this one would just be 0.5. And again, you've got the option if you want to put that 0 in to replace the 4, then you can, but it isn't necessary. And likewise, we don't come across our first significant figure until the 9 in 0.0973. The 7 next door causes the 9 to round up, but you just got to watch out for that because when 9 rounds up, it becomes 10. And we can't just squeeze 10 into the one column, so it will have a knock-on effect. So it would be like 10 there, which would be, if we wrote this out properly, 0.1 with the option of putting the remaining zeros in. So when we move on to estimation, that's the skill we're going to use. Estimation is designed to make the calculation so easy that for the majority of it, you could do it in your head. So if you're not rounding to one significant figure, if you're accidentally rounding to two significant figures, you might come across some calculations, particularly later on when there's more steps, where you suddenly realise you can't do it in your head. And all of this is going to be on non-calculator papers. So it is important that we get this as simple as possible to be able to work it out. So I'm going to round each number in my calculation to one significant figure. 459 would become 500, and 213 would become 200, which means my estimation is 700. Notice I had no problem doing that in my head. And even if you're the sort of person that would be confident adding those two numbers in your head as they are originally, that's still not going to be the easiest thing in the world. That's still 3 columns of calculation you're going to have to think about all at once. Whereas 500 and 200, that's not even a challenge when you're doing it in your head. You'd be absolutely fine with that. 6,254 will become 6,000 when rounded to one significant figure, and 594 will become 600. And 6,000 take away 600 is 5,400. Here are two very similar questions for you to have a go at. I'll be going straight through the solutions, so pause the video so you've got time to have a go, and then just hit play when you're ready. 725 would round to 700, and 188 would round to 200, so for that one you should have 900. 4,923 will round to 5,000, 842 will round to 800, so we should have 4,200 for that one. A few more questions now, practicing a few more skills. 2.6 rounded to one significant figure would round to 3, and 9.1 would round to 9. And now we've just got a question that's basically knowing our times tables. 3 times 9 is 27. 79.65 would round to 80 to one significant figure, and 4.2658 would just round to 4 to one significant figure, and 80 divided by 4 is 20. Then a little bit trickier, you've got a square root now. 99.89 would round to 100 to one significant figure, and the square root of 100 is 10. Just a reminder that the square root of a number is what you would need to multiply by itself to get to that answer. In other words, 10 times by itself, 10 times 10 gets 100. Another round for you again. Pause the video and hit play when you're ready to hear the solutions. 6.1 would round to 6 to one significant figure, and 5.7 would also round to 6, and 6 times 6 is 36. 91.265 would round to 90. 2.87 would round to 3, and therefore 90 divided by 3 is 30. And then a little bit trickier, you've got the cubed root this time. 7.68 would round to 8, and the cubed root of 8 is 2, because 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. Last one now, throwing lots of skills together. We have got 12.64 to one significant figure would be 10. 27.361 to one significant figure would be 30. 21.3 to one significant figure would be 20, and 0.52 to one significant figure would be 0.5. If we start to tidy this up, we've got 10 plus 30 is 40 on top, and 20 multiplied by 0.5, well 0.5 is the same as a half, and a half of 20 is 10. And then 40 divided by 10 is 4. Here's one more question for you to have a go at. Once again, pause the video and hit play when you're ready to see the solution. We should have 40 plus 100 over 40 times 0.5, which would give us 140 over 20, and 140 divided by 20 is 7. On to some multiple choice questions now. I will give you a timer on the screen just to help keep us on track, but if timers really don't work for you, you can just pause the video and completely ignore it and hit play when you're ready. And so we have got round 15,294 to one significant figure. Here are your options. And the answer to that one was D, 20,000. Here's your next, round 168.92 to one significant figure. Here are your options. The answer to that one was C, 200. Next, round 0.07164 to one significant figure. Here are your options. The answer to that one was A, 0.07. On to some estimation now. I'll give you a little bit longer on the timer. Estimate 592 plus 163. Here are your options. The answer was C, 800, and you would have got that from doing 600 plus 200 when you rounded. Next, estimate 18.6 times 2.9. Here are your options. The answer to that one was B, 60. We should have done 20 times 3 when we rounded. And one more, estimate 56.81 minus 12.6 over 4.88 squared. Here are your options for this one. And let's show our working for this one. So hopefully we have 60 minus 10 over 5 squared. 60 minus 10 is 50. 5 squared is 25, and 50 divided by 25 is 2. So well done if you said C. And our last little bit for today, if you feel like you need some independent practice on this, just to make sure you've got these skills secured, I'll be popping the answers up for these questions in just a few moments. So to give yourself as much time as you need, pause the video now and hit play when you're ready to see those answers. And here are your answers. Be sure to check these carefully. If there's anything you're not sure about, then remember you can go back to watch the examples again. Sometimes it helps to just see them once more over. If you have any specific questions, do feel free to pop them in the comments. We do aim to answer every question or comment relating to the content of the video. And all that's left to be said is a big well done for taking part in this video lesson today. Remember that every little bit of revision you do will help you towards success in your exams. Remember to give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and subscribe for more video lessons. Make sure you can find us again when you need support during your revision and exam season. If you also like short form content like quizzes and revision tips, then make sure you're following us as well on TikTok or Instagram. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'm Charlotte. I'll see you in another one very soon.